Judge Lair was the prosecutor.
Right.
So obviously he knows something about criminal, but I guess he's sitting in family.
Now he's sitting in civil.
Oh, okay.
He sat in family for 8 years or 9 years, and now he's been rotated.
Which I think he enjoyed. I think I spoke to him once, and he actually liked that, because I always thought he'd want to sit in criminal. And I know there was a period of time when he couldn't, but then after that passed, I wondered, is it a lot to do with their choice, or is it just, gee, you know, I think this judge is much more suited to the civil area, or do you just kind of try to move everybody around to give them a kind of a taste, so to speak, of each different area?
This is where the role of the assignment judge comes in. In New Jersey, the Chief Justice, through the Constitution with the Supreme Court, controls the full operation of the court system. And as Joe stated, in New Jersey we have vicinages, and each vicinage, and some overlap, has an assignment judge. That assignment judge carries out the edicts and directives of the Chief Justice and the Supreme Court. One of the edicts of the Chief Justice and directives is that a judge becomes well-rounded, sits in each one of the divisions. Now, I mentioned I'd never sat in family, but I was going to family. That was my next stop. I was going to family. I was told I was going to family. But what happens is that the chief wants each one of the judges sitting in each one of the divisions for at least 2 to 3 years at a time. So therefore, if there becomes a shortage, or a judge becomes injured, or he's out on disability, I could rotate a judge into that division, and
he's
litigants,
not gonna be lost.
Exactly, and the litigants won't be hurt. So we try to take the newer judges, put them in the family division, put them in criminal, and then rotate them around. So each judge, by the time the 7 years is up for the first term, he would have had a taste of each one of the divisions to sit in that courthouse. All except for equity. We don't change the equity judge. Usually the equity judge is appointed by the Chief Justice, and he usually stays there, and they don't rotate the equity judge. But what happens when it comes to assignments, that is something that's carefully looked at. And what because I'll be going through my first term of doing the rotation policy, what I intend on doing is sitting down with the individual judges and talking to them. I know everyone's not going to raise their hand and say, I want to go to family, because nobody wants to go to family. But I will look at them, look at their background, and see if we can have them assigned, and I will rotate them into the various divisions. But I speak to them, but the final determination has to be mine in regards to where they go in what divisions.
Well, and that certainly makes a lot of sense. Mark, let me ask you about where the paths cross, so to speak, aside from criminal, where the arraignments and such, is in that family area, because the Domestic Violence Act has given a lot of power to the courts to intercede in matters where there's violence in the home, and we've all seen our share, and we all agree that it needs the attention it's getting, and more if we can give it. But that's one of the areas where usually right in the ground floor, let's face it, we don't have too many domestic disturbances at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when it's convenient to call up one of the judges in Freehold, and we usually end up waking you up or bothering you at whatever function you're at to ask your help. That's somewhat of an awesome responsibility to deal with people who are kind of at wit's end, so to speak, and there's a problem. How do you feel the municipal court judges do in that area, and you think there's something that we could do better? Or?
Well, I think we're doing an excellent job, to be honest with you. I know all of my fellow judges take it very seriously, and we're ready, willing, and able to help anybody at any point in time, and we're there 24 hours a day. We have an obligation ethically with regards to interviewing any alleged victim, and we do that. We place individuals under oath now. We're allowed to do it telephonically. So under most circumstances, if somebody calls in at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, normally what happens is I'll put somebody under oath on the phone and telephonically take their testimony. If I make a determination that there is probable cause that something has existed, then a municipal court judge or a superior court judge has the authority to immediately issue a restraining order. That authority also encompasses custody of children. It can encompass the awarding of monies to support somebody on a temporary basis. can encompass the seizure of weapons in a home. We award various restraining orders to other parties as well. And normally in the municipal court level, for the Domestic Violence Act to apply, it needs to be somebody who is 18 years of age or older. It's one of the interesting novelties that exists. We really have no jurisdiction over juveniles unless they're emancipated. So if a juvenile has been the victim of something, we really have no authority to act. But it's interesting also to note that there is concurrent jurisdiction, in a sense, between both the criminal and the family division. As an example of that, let's assume that somebody calls me up and alleges that they've been assaulted. Well, they have the right to sign a domestic violence complaint, which vests jurisdiction in the family division. They also have the right to sign a complaint with regards to a criminal situation. Now, one of the new novelties of the Domestic Violence Act, is written, I think, in past 2 years ago, is that if an officer sees any act resulting in violence which is evident, that officer no longer has the option of not signing a complaint. He or she, whoever the investigating officer may be, must sign a criminal complaint. So then, therefore, that kicks in the bail situation. Then a municipal court judge would determine what bail should be set, how much, the terms and conditions. And again, that normally happens, unfortunately, during the early hours. What do I think could be resolved with regards to it? I have to really thank Barba and Judge Lawson with regards to their efforts. I have a pet peeve with regards to having police officers. I don't mind doing it, but getting police officers to drive over to my home or to go to the court clerk's office, because right now, for a warrant to issue, it must be sworn out in the presence of the complaining witness, whether it be the officer or the victim. Camden has a program that is allowing for fax execution with regards to these things. And Judge Lawson has been kind enough, along with Joe Barba, to set up a schedule with regards to Monmouth County, and I know I'm going to be sitting on that committee with a few other judges to try to implement that with the consent of the Supreme Court, hopefully in the next several months, I would assume. So I'd like to see it move that way. We're in the age of electronics, and even in the municipal court now we have the ATS, which is the automated traffic system, similar to what the fax was that Judge Lawson spoke of. And there's a new process just being implemented in the courts called the ACS, which is going to have the criminal files all on computer for instant access. There's even an experiment right now where police officers, as you know, are going to be able to enter a ticket on one of these, I hate to use the term McDonald's type entity, keypad, and it'll go right into the computer and be logged instantaneously in there. So we're really entering the age of electronics, and I assume pretty soon that we're all going to have fax machines in our houses and be signing electronic screens and issuing warrants that way eventually.
I guess one of the things that I see from the law enforcement standpoint is sometimes we do move much slower than the technology, and I can understand the caution. You know, you want to make sure something's right before you jump on it. But sometimes we do have a tendency to be a little bit behind the times with those things. So it's good to hear that we're jumping ahead. The interesting thing that you mentioned about domestic violence cases with if you have a simple assault, meaning not an indictable offense, but a disorderly persons offense, you have the case where, and also a domestic violence restraining order, where now two different courts are going to hear matters going towards the same issue. And maybe you could explain just the fact that about the criminal matter and then the order portion.
What happens would be, let's assume that a victim seeks a domestic violence restraining order and a judge issues it. That is a temporary order by a municipal court judge, and even on an initial basis, if it's during the day, it's temporary on a superior court level. In about 10 days from that date, it's then scheduled for a permanent hearing in the Superior Court and Family Division. And the judge who would be hearing the case would decide whether or not the restrictions contained in that restraining order should become permanent. However, that does not in any way influence the criminal side of things. In most of these cases, these are non-indictable, meaning that they're going to be heard in the municipal court level. So they're going to be coming back down to the judge who, in fact, initially interviewed the victim or whatever. So that means that we have to, in a sense, set aside, and it's an interesting task as a judge to try to wipe your mind clean. Now, a lot of people claim that we always go along with wiped minds, probably, but it's a situation where we have to now be in a position where we can acknowledge that we're going to hear the facts, a separate hearing, and make a determination. Also, it's interesting to see how many are attempted to be negotiated at the lower level in municipal court or even dismissed. And I don't mind doing that. If I feel comfortable that either there's a permanent order in place or that these people have had just a mishap and they've gotten counseling and whatever, it's the real intent of the court on all levels to really get people back together if that is the right thing. Sure. If not, we're certainly there also to take care of the other side of things as well.
Once again, we're going to take a short break here, folks, and we'll be back in just a minute on NJ Law. Please stay tuned.
Your friend.
My friend?
Yeah, the one that you said that you asked her if she could say hi. Everything I get, he tries to sell, you know. Oh, what a cute dog. You like it?
Anybody hear from Bill? He called Tuesday and said he couldn't decide whether he should buy or rent.
This little dog, literally, the dog was winding around and around her legs. Like, great dog.
Hi, I'm Deborah Esposito, and I'm a member of the Big Brothers Big Sisters organization of Monmouth County. Being a big sister gives me the opportunity to bring joy and happiness to a little one. It's satisfying seeing Melissa learning new things and having fun. The Big Sister program offers an incredible experience for both the little sister and the community.
To find out how you can become a big sister, please call
908-530-9800.
Share the road safely with a truck. By following a few simple rules, we can make New Jersey's highways safer for all of us, car and truck drivers alike. When you pull in front of a truck, leave enough room for the truck to stop. Stay out of a truck's blind spots and never pass on the right. Following these simple rules can help save a life. Share the road with a truck safely.
Name a hospital that charges patients the same today as it did 70 years ago. How about the Shriners Hospitals? They provide some of the finest medical care in the world to kids with orthopedic or burn problems. And Shriners charge the same today as they did when they opened their first hospital. Nothing. How do I know? When my son John Henry was 16, he was a patient at a Shriners Burns Institute.
For information, call this toll-free number.
Hi, we're back. Welcome back to NJ Law here. We're just talking about the court systems, and we just got finished speaking a little bit about the domestic violence cases as they relate to municipal court offenses, which is interesting. And Judge Apostolou, what I didn't do is, and I meant to, obviously you sit in these different towns as a judge. Obviously you were an attorney, so maybe we could speak just a little bit about that and get a little bit of your background to refresh the viewers' memories.
Sure. Following up on Judge Lawson's background, I too became interested in going to law school. I was at college and needed a roommate, so I put an ad and hooked up with a gentleman who was in law school at the time. So he decided that I should go up to law school one day and sit in with him, and that's how I became interested in going into law school. Plus, I also had been cooking and washing dishes for most of my life, so I decided that law school wasn't such a bad avenue with regards to that. But with regards to having graduated from law school, I also had the great honor to have clerked in Superior Court in Freehold, New Jersey. And I clerked for the then assignment judge, who was Thomas F. Chabelle, who's now in the appellate division. And similar to Judge Lawson, it was an invaluable experience. It's a wonderful situation because you get to meet all the other judges. Hopefully they remember you and you remember them, and you really learn from the basics, the building blocks. And then I went into private practice in the Red Bank area. I did mostly criminal work, did a lot of municipal court work, some civil litigation. And I guess about 8 years ago I was appointed to my first judgeship in Manasquan. And I've been sitting ever since, and still maintaining a private practice, which is an interesting differentiation from Superior Court, because we're still allowed to maintain a civil practice, as opposed in Superior Court you have to give up everything. but we're banned from doing anything of any representation in any criminal courts throughout the United States. And also all other judicial ethics apply to municipal court judges. They do to superior court judges. We're no longer allowed to go to political functions. We really can't give public speeches without the permission of the assignment judge, who's been very gracious to all of us over the last year. And it's been a very interesting experience.
Who's also been very gracious to me by coming on here, so all three of us could sit down and have I'm sorry, all four of us have a conversation. Joe, you know what I want to do? We were talking about some of the statistics, and just to give the folks at home, I think we have one of the graphics on the caseload here in I guess Monmouth County, and it might be interesting to speak of along with Judge Lawson. There's a whole lot of oh, there we are, a whole lot of courses now. Thank God we all know what vicinage is now. Right. So we have now filings mean what? Just complaints or types of cases filed?
With criminal, it's defendants, and you know, all of those are filings of one type or another. You know, one item that I'd like to talk up in connection with the statistics, if I may, is the topic of complementary dispute resolution, which is a significant topic in New Jersey now. So that, for example, when we look at the civil filings of 8,000 and the special civil filings of 28,000, only a small portion of those matters would be tried to completion, would actually go in front of a judge and be tried out to the end. The balance would be disposed of by things such as settlement conferences or mediation or arbitration or other mechanisms such as that.
Now, as opposed to people, the average citizen seeing a criminal case and hearing about it being resolved would consider that, well, there's some kind of a plea bargain. In civil, you're saying that not necessarily so much a plea bargain as there's other ways of handling a case without having it appear in front of a judge in court?
Yes. In the small claims matters, for example, in special civil, mediation will be conducted by law clerks and the law secretaries we were discussing before, and they themselves receive special training at the beginning of their service to serve as mediators in relation to that function. A big effort now in the municipal courts is another aspect of complementary dispute resolution, where we are seeking to establish mediation committees in all of the municipal courts in the county, pursuant to the directive of the Supreme Court. And frankly, we're asking people who have interest in that to contact their municipal court judges. We've worked hard on that. All the municipal court judges have worked very hard on that with their staff over the past year, and the majority of the courts have these committees now established, but there are still a few that do not, and it would be very helpful if people have an interest in volunteering to contact their municipal court judge. And just one other aspect of that, we're in the process of establishing a Hispanic language mediation committee. We've worked with the Hispanic Affairs Office over in Asbury Park, and we have a number of people who are now being trained to serve on that committee, and that committee will work with a number of towns that have a significant Hispanic population.
Sure. Because that does become a problem even in our court when, unfortunately, you get someone who is not at all fluent in English. It's kind of complicated for the judge to, oh, now we got to get somebody in, and you have to swear that person to deal with and it would probably be a whole lot easier if everybody was bilingual and could help them through that. I think we had one other graphic, if I'm not mistaken, which it will be coming up in a second. Okay. I'll be honest with you, I forget which one it was. But in talking about the courts, this one has the filings for 93. Oh, this is the family.
That's the family division.
And they certainly have a lot. And the non-dissolution family division matters, which I assume encompass the domestic violence incidents.
We have domestic violence there is 4,500, but when I spoke earlier about the dissolution being only 15% of the whole family division. You see non-dissolution, which is child placement review, crisis, separate maintenance, support, custody, parental termination. You see that makes up 10,572 cases. So when people hear family, it's not just divorce. There's a lot more going on.
It certainly is.
One of the things that we did not put up in the graphics is the great volume of work that our probation department does in relation to child support matters. I believe they have about 15,000 open files through which payments are made, and each year they'll pass through something like $24 million, which from a child support payor to a payee. And that's a very, very substantial responsibility. And for a number of years, they've had outreach meetings with payors and payees to try to answer questions that they have. So, they're doing a very excellent job with that and have been recognized.
Now, that's the law now, right? If any dissolution or any marriages, if there's support involved, that all has to go through probation now? Or is that
has to go through probation. Has to go through
which
probation.
Probably keeps the records a little bit straighter and probably a little less confrontational for everyone involved.
Right.
I know we didn't have a chance to put the statistics up on the board, but Joe, if you could give the statistics about municipal court, which I'm very proud of, about the volume that we handle.
One of the things when Judge Lawson, quicker on the draw. The bottom line is that the municipal courts in Monmouth County have about 1/3 of a million filings a year, 300,000 filings. And we run down some of them quickly. Parking is about 61,000. DWI is about 3,800. Disorderly persons is about 26,000. And municipal courts are referred to as I forget the exact phrase that's used, but when people, of course, think of the courts, they principally think of the municipal courts, and it's one of the most important courts. And it's I guess that's about 4 times the filings of what we have at the county courthouse in Freehold.
And it certainly keeps the judges busy.
And their staffs.
We certainly, and we certainly have a lot of volume in our town. And actually, they're trying a little experiment. I think they start next week, and they're going to try to run everything on one day. We used to have 2 days, and that way it might work a whole lot better. It's certainly more efficient for us to be able to deal with those. And on Tuesday, we usually had a Monday, and it was
Monday
a little
and Tuesday night.
Mondays. Everything starts on Monday, so it's a little tough. If you have a day to breather, it certainly makes everything a little bit more efficient. One of the, in looking at the statistics, and I think I feel compelled to mention this, that if I'm not mistaken, we've done some shows on domestic violence, and Monmouth County ranks number 3 in the state, the last time I was looking the statistics up, in domestic violence cases, which is maybe shocking, but also to me a ray of hope in that people have a tendency to see statistics just for what they are. We're the 3rd. We must have the 3rd baddest county in New Jersey. And I see it more as, no, maybe we have the 3rd best way of handling these things, where we have the 3rd greatest incidence of reporting, so that we draw more people into this system where we can help them. And unfortunately, I would think that, some people would think maybe some of the more urban counties, they have to have more violent crime, they have more violent crime, so why wouldn't they have more of those cases? So in a way, I guess I'm saying I'm kind of proud of what we've done here in Monmouth County, and in handling those types of incidents, in the police response to those incidents. I think we've maintained and raised our level of professionalism in those areas. The legislature certainly helped us by making certain things mandatory, as Mark was saying, as far as arrests and signing complaints and things, because unfortunately one of our problems, just like one of your problems, was maybe different judges not communicating. With us, it was not everybody handling cases the same way, and sometimes you have to legislate standards so that everybody says, "Oh, okay, now it's not I can wing it." If A, B, and C happen, then I have to do D. And let me ask you, Your Honor, where do you see us going here, especially in Monmouth County, in the future? Do we need more courts? Do we need more jails? Do we need more money? You know, probably all those answers are yes, but is that what we're destined for, or do we see ourselves turning the corner? Or is there a way you're making some things more efficient, and do you have any visions of what can happen in the future to even make it better than it is now, make the court system work even more efficiently, fairer, safer, keep more bad guys off the streets? I don't know.
Well, I can say that in Monmouth County, with the automation, we're striving to make it more efficient, and the automation will make it efficient. We will be needing more judges. The county is growing, and we want to give a better service, because that's what we're doing. We're giving a service to the public. And one of the things that I strive on around the courthouse is civility, courtesy, dignity, and fairness of all persons coming into that building. We have stressed that with the judges. The judges have been responsive to that. The collegiality and the camaraderie amongst the judges is a different atmosphere in regards to the courthouse and dealing with the public. We strive that with the court security of how they deal with the public. The posting of signs around the building to show the accessibility of coming around in the building. We're looking at ways to make it more accessible, ADA accessible.
Sure.
All the courtrooms are all ADA accessible now. We're making the building ADA accessible for all persons so that we can stay in stride with the community. And I can see things really happening in Monmouth County. I'm very excited. State funding is on its way, and that's a awesome task, but I'm very excited and ready and raring to go. I'm looking forward to the year 2000 in Monmouth County.
And I certainly got to get up and see the courtrooms.
Please, please, they did an excellent job.
Maybe we can, as a matter of fact, maybe one day we can take the cameras up, and I'd like to take a tour of the courthouse for folks that haven't had an opportunity to at least walk through. And maybe one night we can talk about that on the show.
We've been very fortunate in Monmouth County with the Board of Chosen Freeholders and how they have responded to the needs of Monmouth County and going ahead with the building and the developing of the courtrooms and that courthouse to make it a courthouse that we can be highly respective and all of us are proud of to live in Monmouth County.
And I have to agree with you. I've always been proud to be part of the law enforcement community in Monmouth County, and also to, as much as I've bounced around working in the different areas on loan, et cetera, always had a great working relationship with that. We have about a minute left.
Kevin?
No, we have about 30 seconds.
Well,
and
we have
should,
brochures.
yes.
If people want to know about the court system, they can.
Great idea.
They
Folks
can
at home, they make brochures that are available through the courts. I'm sure if you call out there, even to the main number.
To the court administrator's office, we'll get them for you.
Court administrator's office.
What's the phone
They'll
number?
be glad to.
431-7085.
7085. 431-7085. They'll be glad to send you one of these or several of these, and we'll go from there. For myself, I'm sorry. We ran out of time real quick. For myself and my guests, I want to thank Judge Joe.
Thank you.
I want to thank you all for coming. We had a good conversation. I hope you all learned a lot, and call me and let me know if you didn't, and I'll try to cover the areas. For myself and my guests, God bless. We'll see you next time here on NJ Law.